Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, I've got a lovely guest. Her name is Christy Whitman. She's a spiritual teacher and author of The Flow Factor. And we're going to be talking today about how to get into flow and not only that, but maintain that flow consistently. So welcome, Christy.
Thank you so much, Lyn. Hi to all of you.
So the first question I like to ask you usually, Christy, is how did you get to be doing what you're doing now? What would you be prepared to share what your story is?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I found myself, I graduated from college. I set out to find myself a career and, I kind of checked the box on all the things that I thought was going to make me happy in life, go to school, get a degree, get a job, make some money, find a man. And I checked all the boxes, but I found myself very just depressed, feeling like, is this it? Is this all there is? And how do I make sense of what this place, Earth, why we're here, life means, and how can I do my part in it? I had a lot of big questions that were coming up, and so big questions lead to big openings and big answers, as I found. So I happened to meet a woman. She was cutting my hair, and I was noticing her energy was very different. There was the language I would say now, but I didn't have back then, is there was a peace and a joy and an ease about her. There was just a contentment, and she seemed so connected. But back then I didn't have that language. This is like 35 years ago. And I just looked at her, and I was, being as blunt as I am, I'm just like, okay, what do you do? And she said, I meditate. And again, this is in the late 90s, and wasn't internet like it is now and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't never at that point in my life met someone that meditated. So for me, my idea was like some guru guy sitting in yogi position, oming on a top of a mountain somewhere, and here's this girl, this chick, from Danville, California. She's married, she's got a dog, and she's like, I meditate. And so for me, it was one of those, my mind is blown. What do you mean? So she ended up introducing me to her meditation teacher, which I went to her house to do a reading because she was also a psychic and not just a meditation teacher. And so kind of, a little timid, never done this before, walk into her house. There's new age, clinky music, candles all around, images of angels and fairies. And she invites me to sit down on a little cushion in the middle of a very opened living room, no furniture. And so I sit down on this, cushion, and this big fat cat named Steve comes over, and he's purring up against me, and I'm petting Steve, loving on Steve, and I look up, and she is just glaring at me and glaring into me, and it was the first time I had someone look at me that deeply. And then she said, "You create your own reality." And when she said that, something in me opened up that already knew that, was like, yeah, finally, let's go. It was like that kind of a feeling. But then the unaware me at that time was like, well, how do I create my own reality? And so she could see that and I said, how? And she said, by your thoughts. You're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. And I thought, the way I think? I mean, again, that was like, I thought I was my thoughts. I thought if I heard myself say something like, you're no good, or you're fat, or you're not good enough, or whatever, that those thoughts were real. I believed them, because why wouldn't I? I didn't know that I could question them, I could stop them, I could change them, I could transform them, I could totally think in a different way. So that whole research for me began this whole like, well, what thought is good and what thought is bad?
Because quite
What
often we're
thought
not even consciously aware of what we are thinking, and it quite often is those negative thoughts, isn't it?
it is. And the thing is that those negative thoughts that most of us think, when we catch them and we can transform them into a positive thought, to a creative thought, then we're in a very, very different experience of life. And so for me, it became this study of the mentality of abundance, the abundant mentality versus the lack mentality. And what I've now researched, and after 25 years of professionally coaching people and healing and doing that sort of thing and writing books, The Full Factor is my 7th book. The whole thread through is that we think, right? We cannot not think. And we're either thinking thoughts of what we want, which feel expansive and life-giving and increasing, or we're thinking thoughts of lack or limitation that are constrictive and restrictive, and most importantly, and this is what the whole flow factor is about, puts us into survival mode. When we are viewing, recognizing, aware of contrast, meaning what we do not want, something negative in our life, something we're pushing against, something we're even, maybe something hasn't even come into our life yet, but we're in our own minds pushing against it, fighting against it, trying to avoid it, instead of focusing on what we do want and the pleasures that that will bring. When we are in contrast and focusing on contrast, we're in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and even fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And the other option now is flow. Because the survival mode, when we are in that mode, we're in drama, we're in chaos, we're in struggle, we're not in feel good. And excuse me, the back of the brain is where all the activity of struggle, strife, push, fight against, all the activity is at the back of the brain, and it's getting stuck there. So when you find yourself in a place of pushing against, fighting against, feeling stuck, like you can't move, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm blocked, or feel like you got to move against yourself, like, I got to escape myself, or I got to escape this situation, where you just want to run, 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 and that leads to vices and things like this. But when you're in that survival mode, when you open up the back of the head and neck, like a chakra, right at the back of where the head and the spine come together, there actually isn't a valve, it's a energetic valve, but it's like opening up and letting the activity of the back of the head and neck release. That actually settles the body, it settles the nervous system. And then you can start doing other things like imagining light coming in, imagining you're standing under a waterfall of light and letting yourself be refreshed with this beautiful light, sensing and visualizing, thinking about, putting your attention on this just visual of this light pouring through. And now what happens is you're getting neutralized. You're in this place of, you're no longer in lack, you're no longer in that survival mode, the less than. You're just coming into a neutrality, and then from there you can start to think about, what do I want? Why do I want it? How do I want to feel? And that gets the prefrontal cortex, that gets the part of the creative part of the brain. It gets just, it starts taking activity, starts having action, and then you start to see it, you visualize it. And when we are bringing thought to the formless substance, we're creating with it. First it's a thought, then it becomes an image, and then that becomes a feeling. I mean, these all are evidence of manifestation before the person, arrives or manifests in the physical form.
Love that. And it's something I really am consciously practicing for myself. So I do understand what you're saying. So I think when I look at other people, and I've recently seen my family members in chaos, to be honest with you. And quite often they're focused on worrying about things that aren't like to ever happen even. They haven't even had anything happen yet, and yet they're worrying about something that isn't even tangible yet. So
Yes.
they're acting and thinking from a place of fear and lack, like you say, fear, lack, worry, and doubt. Those negative emotions that you were talking about, rather than from a place of love, abundance, faith, and trust.
Yeah. Well, when someone is in that space of lack, it's hard for them to not worry, right? And when they don't, when they are just believing and there's not enough. I mean, my dad was 20 days before he turned 92 when he passed. And
Oh,
my mom just turned 90, and so she's still alive. But both of them, he lived his life and she's still living her life from a place of no matter what she has, no matter what's going on, she's in a place of worry. She's worrying about the worst case scenario, constantly worrying. And it was even Jesus that would say, worry not about tomorrow because the Father will take care of tomorrow. But when you really think about it, it's like live your life today, focus on what you do have and find gratitude for what you do have. Because there's a couple options that we have in the now moment. I can spend this moment right here, and all of you can too, focusing on what I don't want and what I'm afraid is going to happen and what is my worst case scenario. And that will only make us feel more fear, more worry, more doubt, more push against. But when we take the time to go, okay, that's what I don't want. I don't want to have that happen. What do I want? Just giving yourself permission to ask yourself, okay, I don't want to feel this anymore. I don't want to feel fear. I don't want to worry. I don't want this. I don't want to doubt. What do I want? I want expansion. I want physical health. I want financial flow. I want a companion. I want connection. I want joy. Start focusing on, I want more money, like whatever it is, I want this. So then why do you want that? Because then I'll be at ease. I'll feel powerful. I'll feel secure. I'll feel free, right? I want more monies because then I'll feel secure, right? Well, what does that feeling of secure feel like? Most people at that point, when they're so pushed against what they don't want and living that way in lack, I know I was one of them. I was raised that way and I've spent the rest of my life shifting out of it, right? I will say that a person that's in the trenches, myself doing this work, is that when you start to become aware of something that you've never experienced, been in a state of, had the actual, physical experience of it, you're going to have to practice it over and over and over, and it's going to need to create more momentum until it appears in the physical world, but it will. And so what I mean by that is, years ago, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep and I was making great money, but I didn't have much passion and purpose for what I was doing. And I, certainly for myself, if I got sick or, if I got a headache, I wouldn't rush to go take a pharmaceutical drug. I would do something natural before. So that's just my choice, my way. So it felt out of alignment for me to be talking about pharmaceuticals to doctors, in which I didn't really appreciate being at doctor's offices with sick people all around, right? So like I want vitality, I want to see longevity around me. I want to see people that are living life and, being in an optimal state and living agelessly, right? So that's what feels good to look at. And I remember feeling this, I don't have passion for what I do, and I don't feel on purpose. I feel off purpose, actually. So I got clear. What do I want? Well, I want to feel like what I'm doing in a career is impactful in a positive way. I want to this, like I would list out what I wanted. And I got down to my list of what do I want? Why do I want it? How do I want to feel? I want to feel passion and I want to feel on purpose. And so because I didn't know what that felt at the time when I was aware of it and discovered it, that's something I then had to cultivate. It was a new experience my brain had to see myself doing. And so visualizing myself, not knowing that this was ever even an option, right? I mean,
Yes.
Zoom did not exist back then, right?
No.
It's like podcasts were not around back then, but like doing this, meaning coaching with clients and healing them and, helping them shift from one vibration to another in order to have them create something in their physical world, whether it be money, a partner, more success, whatever that is, right? That I had no idea this even existed back then, but the passion that I have for this and the feeling on purpose that I have for this and every moment since then, it was cultivated before the form existed for me.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
so cultivating that feeling of whether it's you want to feel that you belong, whether you want to feel you're okay, whether you're wanting to feel fulfillment, contentment, love, peace, harmony, whatever it is, that is a choice that we all have within us. And when we're in that survival mode, push against mode, worry, fear, doubt mode, we don't have access to options and choices because we're stuck in that space. So the first thing is to bring us back into neutrality, like I said, is open up the back of the head and neck, feel as if that struggle, that strife, that spinning is all releasing out the back of your head and neck. And then put your focus on a waterfall of light. Like imagine you're standing under a shower, you're turning it on, and then you're just being doused with this awesome shower, this awesome water, right? So like that same energy, just bringing yourself into the now moment, giving yourself, just wrapping your arms around yourself, giving yourself a hug. This takes about 90 seconds to actually calm down. It's a somatic experience that actually calms down the entire nervous system, helps you get in touch with your body. And then you can declare, I'm okay. I am content. I am free. I am okay. I'm secure. And then start cultivating that, because the more you start to cultivate that, the more you're aligning with that particular vibration, then the more you're living in that state, and the more that you're living in that new state, now you're a vibrational match to everything of that vibration.
Absolutely. I love that you're talking about energy, because that's one of my topics that I'm really passionate about. So I love that you're talking about energy and being in the here and now, and because that's all we've got, isn't it? What happens tomorrow, who knows? That is a mystery, as they say. Yesterday's history, today's the present, and that's why we call it
that's one of my favorite quotes. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. That's why today is the present, because it's a gift, right? It's the present. It is my favorite quote, because we don't know. And here's the thing is the mind will always stretch out what tomorrow or the future will be, because from someone that's in the third dimension, like we all are, right? We have 3 states of being. We have 3 states of awareness, and that is time, past, present, future. And from a quantum experience, past, present, and future all exist right now. Because you can think of a memory from your past and it can evoke a response in you, either something that makes you go, oh, it makes me so happy, or a response of, oh, that jerk, or that, right? There's a positive or negative, or it might even be neutral, like, oh yeah, I remember that. Maybe there was nothing there, right? But it's like our minds will cycle into the past, and it will reference the past in order to make choices in the now, and then we project into the future, and we're cycling all the time. It's like, I'm hungry. Did I eat breakfast? Past, right? I don't know. When am I going to eat dinner? Future. I mean, just in the way of eating for the day, right? But it's like we do this in reference to everything in our lives. And so when we can focus, and this is some of the work I do with people, is connecting them with their future selves. Because when you connect and choose a future self, because there are hundreds of infinite choices, in fact, of future selves that exist right now. But as you are choosing a vibration, as you are choosing to see and visualize living in a certain way and connecting with a future self, that future self fuels you in the present. And if you are in the present connecting and thinking about a future self where the future looks really bright, You know, like you look into your future and you go, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? I'm really eager for that. This is going to be awesome, right? Versus like, oh God, how will I ever do this? I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know. No one's ever done this before, right? It's like a very different way of approaching your future. And when you're connecting with a future that you have by design, because you do create your own reality. I know that and live that and teach that now. Thank you, Melanie, who told me that so many years ago. You do create your own reality. We all do. And so by thinking about the future in a positive way, by focusing on what you want, that brings you into the moment of feeling good. You don't feel anxious in your now if you feel good. But we have this thing called the mind. That's really interesting, because say that, for example, you have enough money where all of your bills are paid for a month, right? The mind naturally will go to, but what about month two? Right?
Yeah.
I have enough, not just for today, not just for tomorrow or this week, for an entire month. My bills are paid. I'm okay for this entire month. The mind will find a way to go, yeah, but what about next month?
There's always a
Right?
yeah, but isn't there?
Right, the yeah, but. Exactly. And it's interesting to be aware of that. As a matter of fact, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to give a gift to all of your listeners. There's a program that I have. I'm giving it to you for free. So it's called Watch Your Words. You can go to watchyourwords.com, because our words are creative. And so when we're saying words and phrases that are coming out of lack, you know, and are coming from that limitation, from that limited worry, fear, doubt type of thinking, right? There are words that actually spark those thoughts. So I created a program. It's very interactive. Every day, it's actually 30 days. You can binge them all at once, or you can just watch them once a day. But they're 2 to 4 minutes in length. They're quick. And they're, like I said, they're interactive. And I tell you what not to say, why, and what to say instead. And you'll say them while watching the video, and you'll feel the difference in saying them. And so why I say this is because our words we choose our words. Nobody else chooses our words for us. Just like we choose our thoughts. And our words, our thoughts, what we imagine, that's within us. And when we are choosing to deliberately see a life that we love living, and we are allowing ourselves to feel that in the now, right? The mind wants to go, what about in 6 months? You might have enough for a month or 2 or 3, and you're envisioning, right? And then that mind's going, hey, good job. You got 2 months now. You got 3 months but what about 6 months, right? It's always like upping the ante of like, you might be okay now, but what about? Right? And so just bringing in that energy of compassion, that energy of light, you know, it's like, hey, that hug, I'm okay now. I'm good now. Right here, I'm now. All the bills are paid. And then you get into the frequency of all the bills are paid and I even have more. Right? And that starts like a vibration of, I have everything I need and more. And that's like living into that frequency, because we all think that, oh, when in the future I have this, then I'll feel. And we're projecting and postponing our life force energy out into the future, when the only place and the only time we can ever feel is in our now. So feel that abundance now, feel that security now, feel that power now, feel that passion, purpose, love, joy, whatever it is. It's available to you now. We have to in tune with it.
So what would you say, Christy, to people that might say to you, you're telling me I can say this instead, i.e. some positive phrase that I can reinforce for myself. What if they say to you, but actually that doesn't feel authentic because I don't see it, I don't believe it currently. So what would you say is how you could deal with that?
Yeah, I would say, instead of say for example, if you're overweight and you look in the mirror and you look in your eyes and you say, I am fit, right? You know that you're not yet fit. You know that the state of your body is you are currently overweight. So the mind is going to go, nuh-uh, you're not. It's going to resist it. It's going to fight it. So that's why anything that we're pushing against, any subject, any condition, any circumstance, any relationship that we feel there's something we want different or better, something that we are in discontent or longing with. We want to be able to open up the back of the head and neck and change our physical state, because that actually moves the energy. And once you start moving the energy, then things can move, ideas can move, different perspectives can move. So it's about the energy first. And then we can also feel the sense of calm, right? A state that's in anxiety, when you're like, hey, it's okay, when someone tells you to relax when you're in a state of anxiety, oh boy, that feels good. When you're like freaking out and someone say, hey, just relax. Yeah, right. Like you're saying, hey, Christy, you could just say, hey, I'm fit. No, you want to relax the nervous system. You want to see yourself consistently. It's not like go to the gym once and lift up, one weight to get in shape. You do it consistently. So our ability to visualize how we want to re-identify with ourselves, because that's really when we see ourselves, we identify our own self-identification, we can't live beyond those limits. So we need to see ourselves, even though the conditions might be hard and it will test your faith. Believe me, I could tell you stories of major contrast, from my sister committing suicide to my 2-month-old son being rushed to the hospital and having open heart surgery. Thank you. I mean, mounds and mounds of debt, just moments of complete struggle. That's the thing in the human experience, we all have some kind of contrast. We all have some kind of trauma. Whether they're big T traumas or little t traumas, that's what I talk about in the flow factor, is that those are times of imprints where energy got stuck. And when you understand that, you can call back your energy. You can release yourself from those different parts and different, pain points in time, right? So it's not just as simple, I wish it was, as I'm fit, I'm wealthy, I'm prosperous, dink, like I dream a genie, now you are, right? It takes consistent focus from us, because we're the thinker. We cannot not think, but what we think about will consistently will manifest. So if you're changing your thoughts, like I'm an example of it, by changing one thought of I'm not good enough to I am enough, consistently enough to change my state to feel better, creates more openings and opportunities. That's why even just the words, starting with the simple words of I can't to I can, it changes your life.
And I think for what we were just saying, and as an example of, like, if you're overweight, suddenly looking in the mirror and saying I'm fit when you know you're not, because there's a disconnect there. You can certainly at least say I'm working towards optimal health, and that be true, can't it? And feel that you actually are. Yeah.
It's finding a better feeling thought that feels real and true to you. You may want the end goal of being fit when you're not yet, but like you just said, that was beautiful, Lyn. You're finding a thought that says, I am willing to be fit. I am working towards. Each day I'm choosing to be fit, right? You're working towards. Right now I am okay and I desire to see myself as fit, right? You're not saying I am right now, right? And then, but as you go up and as you start to see your body changing, and you start to see your life changing, right? And then you start to try it on, right? I am fit. And then it's like, wait, yeah, I'm fit. But here's what happens. As you start to get fit and you start to get in that place, there's a saboteur. There's a part that bounces back. There's a part that comes in and goes, oh, this is uncomfortable. What if, all the reasons you were overweight in the first place, all the protection energy, this is just on one subject, right? The paradigms that hold us in the places that we are to keep us safe will go, wait a minute, that mind that will go, you're not safe. What about a year from now? You might have 10 months of your bills paid, but what about a year from now? What about 20 years from now? Right?
Yes.
Right? The mind can up the ante. So it's a matter of calming the mind and literally saying, it's okay. Look, right now we're okay. All the bills are paid today. all is well, right? Everything's okay. Well, I desire to lose the weight. I desire to be more fit. I desire to have a better marriage. I desire to make more money. I desire to have my own, whatever it is. If you're not in that state yet going, I am successful, right? It will create dissonance instead of resonance. So it becomes that, what's a better feeling thought? Gratitude. I'm thankful. I'm on my way to being fit. Thank you for my fit body. Thank you for an opportunity to have a fit body, right? Finding a better feeling thought so that, and you are the only, because no affirmation is one size fits all, right? You need to say the words of affirmation to yourself and see how it resonates with you. And if you feel good in saying it, say it often, say it all the time, say it all, the gratitude of, oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this. When you actually start to say, thank you, it is a receptivity, and say it often. Thank you. Oh, the sun is out today. Thank you. I woke up today. Thank you. I got out of bed easily today. Thank you. Look at the hummingbird. Thank you. It becomes a constant walk with the divine in gratitude.
Love that. So, Christy, just reiterate again about what the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you is.
You can go to watchyourwords.com.
Watchyourwords.com. I love that, because isn't it true that we're not consciously aware enough of what we actually say to ourselves, and it can be quite damaging to actually realize, oh my God, I've been beating myself up so much over the last few decades. But we don't know what we don't know until we do we?
That's it. And then we become aware and go, okay, well, now I didn't know. I hear people say that to me all the time. I wish I would have known this 30 years ago. Why? I wish I would have, I feel so bad that I have spent my life living like this when now I know this, right? It's like, well, now that you do know it, now you get to change your life. Now you get to see things differently. Now, because you have a different awareness, now you can do something about it.
Excellent. Love that. So any final words around how to get into your flow before we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, just know that energy is flow. Flow is energy. There is a formless substance that exists in the universe that penetrates, permeates, it fills the inner spaces of the universe. It's within you, within me, within all of us. It's energy. Some call it God, some call it source, some call it divine, universe. But it is a formless substance. And then when we think, and we cannot not think, when we think, it starts to form itself. It creates pictures. And so it's important for us to remember that this formless substance is flow. It likes flow. And we are the flow factor, because we're the factor of, are we in the flow? Are we in alignment with it? Are we thinking of what we want to create? Or are we thinking about what we don't want and what we're afraid of and what we don't want to have? Because flow feels good, and so does focusing on what we want, and all the things that we want to experience are in flow, and we're the factor of if we're in it or not. Excellent.
Love that conversation, Christy. Very aligned with it all, and actually do practice what you're preaching. So I'm very happy to have somebody that's so aligned with my own thoughts and thinking. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
So with that in mind, if you'd like to get in touch with Christy, then go to our show notes or go to her website and get her book, which is The Flow Factor. Okay, so I'll just leave it with true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.